Some individuals seem to attract trouble like a magnet, while others just find themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time. And then there are those who, much like Amrish Puri's character inviting pigeons in DDLJ, actively seek out trouble. Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, undoubtedly falls in the exact third category. To be honest, even some of our own politicians haven't developed as much cringe as this man has done single-handedly. But this time, the tables may turn. Bharat seems to be ready to confront Trudeau's penchant for promoting extremism on an international stage. The nation is prepared, and Trudeau might soon find himself living through the worst nightmare of his life. Bharat is now considering the possibility of approaching the Financial Action Task Force, a global organization that combats money laundering and terrorism financing. This potential move signifies a strong stance against Trudeau's actions, which have raised concerns about his extremism. So welcome everyone and join us as we understand how Trudeau's days of troublemaking may be numbered and why he could soon face the consequences of his actions on a global scale. India is making a bold move by addressing Canada's perceived inaction against terror funding. As per a report from the Sunday Guardian Live, the New Delhi is considering approaching the FATF regarding Canada's reluctance to act against terror financing within its borders. Despite India sharing credible and clinching evidence numerous times, it seems that Canada is simply not interested in taking sufficient action. This comes at a critical juncture as some unverified reports even suggest that FATF might take action against India for its alleged harassment of NGOs under the guise of cracking down on corrupt organizations. According to a report from Deccan Herald, FATF is looking into the fact whether the Indian government led by PM Narendra Modi is misusing local laws to clamp down on non-profit organizations like Amnesty International and other policy think tanks. However, there is a twist. The same report highlights a significant point that the Deccan Herald probably kept deliberately behind the front line. There is no provision for addressing any overzealousness in use of India's money laundering laws. This raises a critical question. Why would the government be accused of overreach unless there is corruption infiltrating the functioning of civil societies and NGOs? Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, finds himself teetering on the edge of a diplomatic precipice. If the Indian authorities succeed in their initiative, Trudeau is in for some titanic trouble. But perhaps in the grand scheme of things, that shouldn't come as a shock. In fact, he seems to have invited this debacle himself. In a bizarre twist that can be only described as head-scratching, Trudeau has accused India of violating the Vienna Convention. Why, you might ask? Well, it's because India had the audacity to request Canada that it reduces its diplomatic staff on Indian soil. It's almost as if Trudeau is determined to set new records in the Cringe Olympics. During a recent press conference in Brampton, Ontario, Trudeau decided to inject a little drama into the diplomatic scene. He claimed that the Indian government's actions were causing an unbelievably difficult situation, purportedly disrupting the lives of millions in both India and Canada. Trudeau still went on to assert that India's decision to revoke the diplomatic immunity of 41 Canadian diplomats was a breach of Vienna Convention. But evidence? Well, Google that. According to him, this is a matter of global concern. Something that should send shivers down the spine of every nation in the planet. But there's more. Trudeau couldn't resist adding a dash of spice to the mix. He said it is something that all the countries in the world should be very worried about. And this is putting aside the allegations we made of a serious violation of international law with the alleged killing of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil that the Indian government could have been involved in. This is a matter putting that aside, all countries should be concerned about. One can't help but wonder if this is one of the reasons why Justin Trudeau isn't taken very seriously. Exemplifying this further, Pierre Poilievre, the leader of Canada's Conservative Party, pulled no punches when criticizing Trudeau, especially in relation to the deteriorating relations with India. He minced no words in accusing the Canadian Prime Minister of becoming a laughingstock in India. According to Poilievre, Trudeau's approach to diplomatic relations with New Delhi hasn't just backfired, it has also made him the subject of mockery in the world's largest democracy. In unequivocal terms, Poilievre stated, Justin Trudeau is not worth the cost after 8 long years. He's turned Canadians against each other at home and he's blown up our relations abroad. He's so incompetent and unprofessional that now we are in major disputes with almost every major power in the world, and that includes India. To be honest, Trudeau's diplomatic misadventures and his tendency to sprinkle sensationalism into global affairs are doing him no favors. With his credibility at stake and critics pointing out at the sheer absurdity of his claims, it remains to be seen how he will navigate these troubled waters. If he wants to regain the respect and trust of the international community, he may need to rethink his approach to diplomacy. Otherwise, he may become a chapter in history that Canadians would love to